Hey there, Irondequoit. This is Supervisor Seeley coming at you from Town Hall today. We're continuing to deal with the ongoing COVID-19 outbreak, partnering with our first responders, county, state officials to make sure we are flattening the curve, which we are doing a very effective job here in Monroe County. But as always, the point we're trying to get across is now is not the time to take the foot off of the gas. So we want everyone to continue to abide by those public health measures, listen to the governor, listen to the county executive, and we will get through this and come out better on the other side. Here in the town of Irondequoit, we've been dealing with this not only from a public health point of view, but all in making sure that our community is safe from a public health standpoint, but also within our own organization. We're an organization of about 300 employees, 200 full-time employees, most of whom provide an essential public service, and that includes the very good work of our Department of Public Works, led by Highway Commissioner Bob Kiley. I asked Bob to come join me today. Generally, you wouldn't think, why would a highway commissioner have some insight on the COVID outbreak? Well, first of all, Bob is a good partner in any public health response, emergency response we do, so he is effective. But I wanted to bring him on particularly because Bob is a unique individual, and he's probably the only person in our organization who has been infected and thankfully endured through having COVID-19. So I wanted to bring him on because Bob's unique in a couple ways. Is he's not really the face you see of most COVID, those who are infected. Bob's a member of the younger cohort. He's younger than me, so I think he's, 34, 35?
That's right, Sue.
I think I'm aging better, but he got this a few weeks ago, and obviously we were concerned about him. But I wanted to allow him just to talk about his experience, maybe some things that he took away, and some lessons learned, but also maybe a call out to people in our cohort of why distancing really isn't important, because this is a virus that knows no discrimination with regards to age. So Bob, why don't you just talk a little bit about your experience and how you started to feel and what led to from there.
Thanks, Supervisor Seeley. Yeah, it's been an interesting couple of weeks. I want to say it was, 16 days ago that I woke up. It was a Tuesday morning, unlike, just every other Tuesday morning, was going into work and had just a minor headache, and my neck and my shoulders were just achy. Thought I slept wrong, came into the office, and just through that morning became more and more concerned that I just wasn't feeling well. I just felt tired, felt like I was getting a little bit of a sore throat, and just thought I was cold. Whenever I'm thinking myself in my own body, I'm cold, it's like I always have that fear, oh my gosh, maybe I have a fever. So I went home immediately about midday, took my temperature, and 99, so that's really not a fever by any means, but didn't really feel any better. I'm on a couch with a blanket and still nothing. Took my temperature again and 100. So, okay, maybe I have a little fever now. My throat is pretty sore. So out of an abundance of caution, my wife, Sarah, is a nurse. And so at home, she's saying immediately, you should call your doctor just to make sure. Gave a call to my doctor. He called me back and said, this could just be a regular virus, or it could be the coronavirus. You should isolate as much as you can and give me a call if things progress and get worse. So that was Tuesday. So that afternoon, I isolated in the bedroom. I've got 3 kids, a 7, 5, and 3-year-old. So that's pretty tough to isolate in any room. But, our kids know of the virus, right? They don't have school. So we've talked about it. We understand why we're doing the social distancing. And so we had that hard conversation with the kids saying, look, we don't know what is going on with Dad. He's not feeling well. Just because this virus is out there We need to give him some space. So over the next 3 days, so Tuesday night, Wednesday, Thursday, and really Friday morning is when we needed to give the doctor a call back. Through those days, I had a consistent fever of 102 or 103 degrees. And it didn't matter if it was ibuprofen or Tylenol or Dayquil or NyQuil, nothing would cut it. It was straight fever. And that was probably as feverish as I've ever been, from the chills to the physical shakes because you're just so cold. It was unlike anything else I've experienced. It was Thursday night and first thing Friday morning that I started to notice, and Sarah, my wife, started to press me on, my breathing. It's not that I had a cough. Really, I never had a cough throughout this whole endeavor. But it was a tightness in my chest. That's the best way I can describe it. It felt like one of my little buckaroos or my little girl was sitting on my chest, and I was constantly trying to breathe. It just felt like a weight and a pressure. And as I was talking on the phone, still trying to do some work from the bed, it was becoming more and more difficult. It's as if I did a wind sprint down the street and then just picked up the phone.
Well, I remember I told you to stop calling me because you would get 5 seconds in and be out of breath. I said, use your fingers, text me.
Yeah, texting worked very well.
But no, it was, I could hear it just over the phone.
It was a wild experience.
I did a lot, so you're out of breath with excitement because I know you love public works, but this was something different.
It was very much something different, and seeing the concern in Sarah, that's really when I made, we have to call the doctor back. Explained a little bit of the new symptoms with regard to this, pressure and this out of breath feeling constantly, and then after discussing the fever for 3 days, that's when my doctor said, look, you 2/3 chance, 70% chance, you have the coronavirus, you have COVID. You need to self-quarantine in your bedroom and get better. And, the next question, say again?
You get better starting then, or when did you start?
No, I wish I did. That was Friday afternoon, and Saturday, Sunday, Monday, no fever. I didn't really have any fever, still didn't have any cough, but extremely fatigued, just tired. And that tightness of my chest and shortness of breath persisted. It was Monday afternoon that I went in for a chest x-ray just to determine, because I called my doctor on Sunday. My wife actually called the doctor on Monday to speak to him about it. And we immediately said, okay, maybe this is a pneumonia thing because, I'm laying in bed, and at that time I tried to start getting more active within the confines of the 10-by-8 room that is the bedroom to thwart off that pneumonia potential, I guess. So had that chest x-ray that came back A-okay, so that was good to hear. Tuesday was a little bit more of the tightness in the chest, and probably by Wednesday, so this was 8 days after I became symptomatic, I didn't have any sore throat, didn't really have any body aches anymore. The fever was totally gone, and that tightness in the chest and that out of breath nature started to fade. And it was a slow fade, though. Over the next 3 or 4 days, it still, to a certain degree, lingered, but ultimately by Saturday, and this is where, with 3 good days without symptoms, I was able to come out. So I spent 12 days in isolation in the bedroom. So even now I'm back to work. My first day back was Monday. That's just a couple of days ago here. I feel pretty good. I'm still fatigued, I won't lie, and it's a bit frustrating. I think, Dave, Supervisor Seeley, you know me well enough that I go, go, go. I love what I do. I love my family. I love my community. And it's frustrating for me that by the end of the day, really midday, I'm I'm beat. I'm tired. I want to just sit and veg out on the couch, and I'm dealing with that now. But I still feel pretty good. It's just by the end of the day, boy, I'm still a little bit tired. Still a little.
We're glad you're, for the balance of your sickness, feeling better. And Bob, you're part of, we see the numbers come out every day. We see them locally, we see them statewide, nationally, number of infected. And the fact that you were never actually clinically diagnosed with COVID, but your doctor told you you had it, just shows also when we look at those numbers, it's very misleading. I think we're up to around 900 people confirmed to have COVID in our community, but that number, just for people who aren't symptomatic, but people who might be symptomatic that aren't ever confirmed, that number is much higher. So that's one thing we have to remember. If we're looking at that number 900 and saying, oh, only 1/700th of the community has been infected with COVID, that's not true. I mean, it's much larger than that. Thankfully, it's been flattened, so it hasn't had that exponential growth. But you're proof that we have to assume that many other people have it in our community who might not necessarily have been confirmed through a test.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mid-30s guy. I don't have any prior health conditions, and that was one of the first questions I asked of my doctor. I was like, oh my gosh, okay, so I have these symptoms. Where should I go get tested? When should I get tested? And the response was, well, can you self isolate in your bedroom? Of course, yeah, of course I can. Okay, well, just do that. You'll be okay. You'll get better. If things get worse, call me. But because of the zero risk factors, because I'm a younger guy, there was really no need for testing. The most interesting part, my wife is a nurse. So Sarah works in the neonatal intensive care unit at Strong. And so the question then became, okay, well, Sarah is a nurse, right? So she is in the front lines every day. Can she go to work? Because I'm symptomatic. I'm presumed clinically diagnosed with COVID. Can Sarah go to work? And the answer was yes. If so long as she is not showing symptoms, she can move and continue to do her work. Now, she couldn't, of course, because no one was going to take care of the kids. But ultimately, that was new for me to learn. I of course, I feel that I try to keep a good pulse to the numbers here locally and even statewide. But it was certainly different for me to know that they're not testing guys and gals that are not at that risk factor, that aren't going to the hospital with it. They're dealing with it at home. They're getting better, and then they're rejoining society. So yeah, that was different for me.
Yeah. So, well, Chris, I hope you're pacing yourself back in. I know you like working. You can work from home, but let's talk a little bit, because I think what's important here is, and I said at the beginning, you really kind of through your tenure dealt with a lot of emergencies, and one of the things that you and I worked on, I don't know if we were into March yet, but was developing, narrowing down and thinning out our department to the point where not people weren't working, but we were ensuring that people were not working, or the whole department wasn't working in the same location. So we have possibly upwards to 6 different shifts going on throughout town at different times, which proved, I think, to be very effective. And ultimately, when I'm talking to Dr. Mendoza about this and saying, should I be concerned that an essential public service like this might have some sort of mass exposure, I explained to him the measures we'd taken, and that gave him a pretty good level of confidence that in case there was not an enhanced risk. So it just goes to show, too, why this sort of thinking, this social distancing, is important, because it helps you deal not only with what you know, but what you don't know and what the future might bring, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I want to say it was probably that last week in February, that first week in March, that we began to really sit down and say, okay, how would we manage this? Where would we put employees? I think we were one of the first towns in Monroe County to split the workforce up. And that was just the first thing we did. Let's take half the people and let's take them over to Camp Eastman, and we'll keep half the people here.
Well, in early February, we bought a lot of stand-up Purell dispensers.
Yes, we did.
People
Yes,
were
that
calling
was
it Chicken Little at that point, but we bought a lot of Purell.
a lot of Purell, a lot of those dispensers, absolutely. And it's been it's been a continued test of really, the resolve of our workforce. And the Department of Public Works is an essential workforce. We have potholes to fill, we have brush to pick up, we have sanitary mains to continue to maintain, and pump stations that carry wastewater away. So we do have that essential role. And ultimately, the planning and preparation that we've undertaken and continue to undertake, I think right now we're proposing to bring our workforce back to 100% capacity, and we're going to occupy up to 8 different locations
Right.
throughout this town, just to make sure that if one person becomes infected, then we just need to monitor the 2 or 3 people that person was working with, as opposed to monitoring the entire workforce. So it's certainly a challenge, but with good hygiene, with good social distancing, with wearing masks when we can't get that 6 feet of social distancing, I think those are the real principles by which the new normal is going to be, and it's certainly going to shape how we conduct business here in the department. But ultimately, I think all of us personally and as a community, as a larger community here in Monroe County, it's going to shape all of us.
All right, so last word for you. You're speaking to all around the Kauai residents, but speak to your generation, those 18 to 49 cohorts of people who think they're invincible. What do you have to say for them in a minute?
So I did not think this would hit me that hard. I've never really been as sick as I've been with regard to this COVID virus. Seeing the genuine concern in my significant other, my wife's eyes, really shook me. It was probably that Sunday afternoon that really hit home for me, saying, man, this is pretty bad. I could really wind up in the hospital, and I'm a younger guy with no prior medical stuff. So luckily, no one else in my house got infected. Thank God. Knock on wood here. It'll consistently and maintain. No one else gets infected. But folks really need to be aware that this can knock you back. And as my lights go off in my office because I haven't moved here, there it comes. They're coming back on. Energy saving in
which I wanted to make sure people know. They think we leave the lights on all the time, but we do have smart technology here to minimize our operating budget.
We do the environmentally green thing.
Now before we wrap up, I'm gonna look outside because it's only fitting that as we do this, it's snowing out in April. So I think that's a sign we should probably not push our luck too far. And
I'm over here on the east side. It hasn't snowed over here yet, Dave. So it's coming this way. The band's coming this way.
You're south of 104 now, but it's snowing on Titus. But anyway, good to have you back, Commissioner. You are a valuable asset. I know a lot of people in town were very concerned and sent their best wishes. So it's good to see you. You need to get a little more color in those cheeks, but for now, we're glad that you're on the mend. And,
well, thank you, Supervisor, and thank you to everybody that reached out via email or on social media. It truly is touching, and I'm very happy to be back to work, very happy to continue to do the great things we're doing here in town.
All right, well, that's all we're going to have today. We'll continue to provide you these updates, but again, the message is, even if we're flattening that curve, we're not out of this. We need to be vigilant. We need to be there for each other, and as a community, we solve this and get out of this COVID crisis and get back to life. But for now, thank you, everyone. Godspeed.
Thanks.
Be safe.